So let me tell you why the truck tried to leave me stranded. Yes, it tried to leave me stranded. It was night, I was on my way home, I stopped to get gas, I cut the truck off. When I got back in and turned the key, there was no electrical power to anything. Now, I did a little quick checking right there at the gas pump, and what had happened is this crummy factory battery cable that you can see is a little corroded and a little stretched and not really in all that good of condition, had just worked loose enough that when I turned the key, the truck wouldn't start. I did the only rational thing, whacked it a couple of times with a pocket knife. It made enough contact to let the truck start and get me home. Unfortunately, whacking it with a pocket knife is not something I want to do every time I need to start the truck. That's a little impractical. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to replace this crummy old factory starter cable with some of this high quality heavy gauge cable that I have. Now, a lot of people like to do this. This is a pretty common mod. It helps out your electrical system a little bit. And a lot of people will recommend the use of welding cable. Stop right there. Don't use welding cable. What am I talking about, right? Welding cable is thick. It's great. It's perfect. It's what everybody uses. Here's the problem with using common, standard, easily accessible welding cable. It's not oil resistant. Now, this is a 20-some-odd-year-old truck. It's in good shape, but it's one of those things. If we were to look around in here enough, especially over here by the battery, by this snowplow pump and this snowplow oil system, it doesn't take a long time to find an oil leak. And it's like that on most vehicles. Most of us with older vehicles, yeah, they leak a little oil. It happens. Oil and welding cable do not get along together. What happens is the oil actually breaks down the rubber insulation on the welding cable and the insulation falls off. I used to work in a shop and we dealt with vast quantities of cable. Welding cable, battery cable, all that, and we would bring it in and a lot of it ended up getting scrapped. It was just kind of a byproduct of the repair work that we did. And the way we would scrap this stuff is we would actually take that old cable, drop it in 5-gallon buckets of used oil, and let it soak for about 3 or 4 weeks. When you pulled the cable out of the bucket after soaking, that insulation would have softened to the point it was almost falling apart, and you could just take a flathead screwdriver and skin it right off and have that bare copper cable that's worth a lot more money as scrap metal. So any long-term exposure between petroleum products and most welding cable is going to cause that insulation to break down, and that's one of my greatest fears. I mean, I have personally witnessed a truck catch on fire because the battery cable insulation broke down, shorted together, and almost lost the entire outfit. I don't want that to happen. Don't use welding cable. If you're going to use heavy cable, which you can do, that's what we're about to do right here, get good cable. Get oil-resistant cable and run it inside plastic split loom. Not only does it protect it from rubbing against things and getting worn places in the insulation, but it also helps protect it against oil and petroleum products and all that other fun stuff that's in our cars. So this is not the quote-unquote correct battery for this truck. I'm sure a lot of you Ford guys are ready to point that out in the comments if you haven't already. You can see this battery, in addition to having the top post, it has these threaded posts. This is a deep cycle battery. I forget this is a group 27, just for those of you that care that much. The reason I'm running this battery is twofold. Number one, I already had it, and I'm a big fan of things that don't cost me more money. So when this thing needed a battery, my option was go spend $100 and buy a battery or use the one that I had. We can all see how that worked out. The other reason I'm running this battery is because of this right here, which is my snowplow pump, and this right here, which is my upgraded 130 amp alternator. The nice thing about this battery having these threaded top posts is it makes it extremely easy to make battery cables for this truck because I don't have to worry about getting the proper ends that clamp on here or the little marine terminals that clamp on here. I can just use these regular welding cable terminals because they're copper and they're flat and they just have a hole in them, and I can put them right on that threaded post and they work perfectly. Now, the positive cable came right off with my hand. ordinarily I don't recommend removing the positive cable first. Ordinarily you want to remove your negative cable first for safety reasons. Now, you're not likely to blow anything up. Batteries can explode. I've seen it happen. It's not fun, but let me explain why you take the negative off first. If I take my negative terminal and my positive terminal and I arc across them, it sparks. Nobody likes that. If your battery is off gassing, that can ignite the hydrogen and cause an explosion. Even if your battery's not off gassing, it just, well, it leaves arc marks on an otherwise nice wrench. See, this is my dedication to you, YouTube. I did that just for you. I'm removing the positive terminal first, and I touch my wrench that's on the positive terminal to the grounded portion of the truck. You can see it gets hot, it arcs, it's a problem. But if I come over here and I touch my negative to the grounded portion of the truck, it just doesn't matter because the negative cable goes directly to the frame anyway. So we're going to remove that first, just so if the wrench hits something, nobody cares. And then once we remove the ground cable, the negative cable, once it's off of there, there's no more complete circuit. We can touch the positive terminal to whatever we want, and nothing's going to arc. Now, if you arc across the terminals, it still will, but we're not going to do that again. We've made the point. We need one cable that comes off our battery terminal and goes down to the actual starter. We need another cable that comes off our battery terminal and goes over to the solenoid. And now, because I got a little aggressive cutting the wire loom off, we need a third wire to go from the solenoid down to the other solenoid on the actual starter. Oh, they're both gonna fit. That worked out. That worked out. So I worked on this for quite a while the other night, filmed every last bit of it, and the GoPro didn't save any of it. So where we are now, this is our new starter trigger solenoid wire. This is our new harness, and typically, I mean, we're doing the right stuff here. Everything's wrapped in split loom, but because I'm running a set of long tube headers on this truck, yes, it is a 5.8 liter small block gasoline engine. It is not a diesel, but because I'm running long tube headers on this thing, the starter wires have to pass behind the header to get down to the starter. Now, they would be fine the way they are, but the regular wiring harness would have been fine too with a new end on it. And we're not doing fine, we're doing better than fine. So this is some heat insulation tape, like some heat reflective tape. I picked it up at the local auto parts store. I'll throw a link to it down in the description where you can get it on Amazon. If you click that link, anything you buy on Amazon, even if it's totally unrelated or you find it for a better price or whatever, anything you buy on Amazon through that link, Amazon does give the channel a small commission. It doesn't cost you anything different. So if you're looking for a way to support the channel, that's an option that doesn't cost you anything. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to throw some of this, some of that, wherever I put it. I'm going to throw some of this on our wiring harness where it passes close to the header, and then we're going to put this thing in, and then we're going to address our SB350 connector that's going down here in the bumper somewhere. Come on, thing, cooperate. Okay, so we got our new battery cable, new starter cable done. Let's start the truck up, see if it's any better, then we're going to address this winch connector. All right, now we're going to take a look at this winch connector and see exactly what we need to do for this. We need to mount this SB350 connector down here on the bumper somewhere. Now the way I have my winch set up, and I'm basing all this on the winch because that's the only thing I have that has to mount in the receiver and plug in, and I've got it set up with the plug on the right hand side. So even though that is further from where the battery is, that's where we're going to have to put the cable. I mean, I could fall over on the wall. I could mount this vertically behind the bumper, but then if I have the winch plugged in and I'm driving somewhere, especially in the winter, I've got this plug hanging down like this too. So I think what we're going to do is cut this plate here large enough for this to fit through it. And then once I get it under there, I'll drill and tap the bottom of this bumper tube and we'll attach it right to the bumper. That's the theory anyway. So I want to go like right in here. Here.
She said go is almost done.
Oh, okay. I can't go there. Where do I want to go at the bottom? Yeah, we'll go right here. Yeah, we'll go right here. That can work. So you guys can certainly tell this project has taken several days. We do farm, we do ranch, but we are a small operation, and that alone is not enough to provide an income for one family, much less Brandon's family and mine. So we do both work other jobs. I have another business that I run that I don't show on the channel very much because every YouTuber has trolls and haters or whatever you want to call them, and I have my fair share too. And I've just been a little uncomfortable opening up my primary source of income to people that don't really have my best interest at heart. In addition to that, a lot of my customers are businesses, and a lot of my customers are very sensitive about having people recording things on their job sites, on their drill sites, in their facilities, wherever it may be. And because I respect that and I want to continue doing business with them, I don't record there. But I do have a few things coming up that I can bring you guys along with, so I may try to do that depending on what happens. As far as this thing, I got to get it out of here. I've got 2 other vehicles that need to come in here. That Scout project is going to be starting in just the next few weeks. So you guys are going to be getting some content restoring that thing, doing the engine swap, getting it all fixed up. Yeah, that's just where we are right now. I've got the new water pump for the Massey Ferguson. It is here. I've got to get it put in. Then we have to swap the Massey for the John Deere. The John Deere does have a loader on it. I am working on that video so I can show that to you guys. I've got to bring it down here so we can modify the bale spear off my old John Deere tractor to fit that new loader because it has a different quick attach setup. I'll definitely bring you guys along for that, but for tonight, let's just say thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys sticking it with me, and yeah, more later.